clashes of 92, 97, and whatever happened. So in terms of adding or subtracting, to have or not to have more counties, it's another hot political potato, and we are happy with your recommendation that perhaps we will not be looking at whether the matter is within our jurisdiction or it's beyond our mandate, as per the motion passed by Parliament, and therefore recommendation, what I wanted your advice on, maybe when you're making your recommendation, whether that can fall within, of course, the purview of Article 188, where it's required that Parliament handles the issue of creation of new borders, counties and whatever. That will be very helpful in terms of a way forward and in terms of recommendations. Lastly, we have the issue of course, the two-thirds gender rule. We are looking for that clause that disappeared. I think you are saying that could really resolve the situation of the two-thirds gender rule. Because in the county assemblies, because of the law that we put there, Article 177, we have achieved in all our 47 county assemblies. But in our National Assembly and I think Parliament, we have a problem. I think you can help us find the clause that disappeared that could have actually resolved this. Be more specific in terms of recommending so that we can pick it as part of a recommendation to resolve that issue. And lastly, the issue of Article 43 and matters of socio-economic rights. That also, I think you made some very, very good recommendations. It's an issue that, of course, our colleagues in Kenya Kwanza didn't want on the table. You're saying it's a national crisis. Kenyan suffering don't belong to Kenya Kwanza or Azimio. They are all Kenyans suffering, regardless of how they voted. So there was the recommendation you were making about a national consultation, NCG. I think that's a very good recommendation, which I'm hoping will also capture. But what I wanted to ask is, I think during Kibaki's time, when we had this economic crisis, Kibaki came up with the economic recovery strategy and a team that was tasked to actually address the crisis at the time. I remember during Moi's time, when we had a similar crisis, he came up with a dream team that included people who are not even his supporters, a cross-cutting team of experts and people like Leakey and others who didn't agree with him politically, but a team that would be brought together broad-based and with the necessary expertise, economic and legal luminaries, if that could actually be recommended, so that we say it is no longer Kenya Kwanza affair, it's a national crisis we are facing. Let's come together and let's reason together.
Well, thank you. Maybe we give you time to respond now. Because in the interest of time and what Cicely was reminding us of, I think it's good. And again, thank you. We are not raising any issues. I think we're very clear.
Mine was just
I thought you
raised a very important issue on the issue of bicameral house vis-a-vis the Senate.
It was very clear.
I wanted to make a small request that you don't make it off the cuff. You send us a write-up on your thoughts.
Yeah. I'd actually given him one myself when they were sitting at KICC. Maybe just to enrich it and see what we can do. Over to you, Bwana Amos Wako.
I wish to, this is my eyes and Mose. I was struggling with which text should he use. Let me use this one so that I'm not now seeing it clearly. First of all, let me thank you for the comments you have made, which have all been very positive, and that's the way it should be. Mr. Chairman, your committee can even make proposals for amendment. I do not think that the proposal that political parties appoint in any way contradicts the Constitution. But if you feel it somehow it contradicts the Constitution, but you like the idea, then you can do a slight amendment. And if you want me to help you, I can do it. Honorable Muchoka, I just wish to confirm that there was a point when I thought I'd had enough and I wanted to sign. And actually, I'd gotten good jobs somewhere. But he came. My friend came. He was, of course, my pupil before he became an advocate. So he was now taking care of his master, both spiritually and whatever. He came and really, with a long discussion, and he convinced me not to resign. And that's why I continued. At that time, continued in the next regime, and continued to make a record of 20 years over as Attorney General. And I'm always grateful to you for that. And that's what I've made. I don't know where I would be now if I had made that decision to quit. Honorable Kalonzo, you asked about fidelity to political parties. To me, the situation to me, or that one is very, very clear. Kenya is a multi-party democratic state, and anything that undermines that should not be acceptable. But more important to me is that wananchi, the people, the sovereignty of this country rests in the people. And the people, you have gone to them and you have said that I'm now in this party, these are my programs, and on the basis of that, they have elected you. And maybe you decided to stand on that party because you knew that party was popular in that area. And therefore, for you to be elected, you must be a member of that committee. So you are going there under false pretenses to be elected, and then soon after election to go somewhere else. That is deception to the people of this country. And we should be very firm on it. I agree with my, if you go to the parliamentary record, what Tom Boyer said when in the parliament, when they brought up that law that if you resign from the
Grammarly's 5 tips for writing a professional email.
Email writing is super important.
I agree entirely with what Tom Joseph Boyer said. You should have the courage to resign and go, rather than say, I will not go. I'll use the processes of the political party or the court and so on. And by the time they decide, my time will be over. I've heard my statement being made, and really, that now comes impunity of the highest order. For you, all of agree I've left, and you are now on the other side. And then you say, but nothing will happen to me because I use the system to say where I am now until the next election. You know, it's a gross abuse of the system that is there. And that makes
Everybody put your hands up, please.
We are not ignoring it. Not in a way that you be a yourself. Yeah, thank you very much. We have been together for many years, Safari Park particularly, and so on. And the comments we made about 2002 elections, the margin of victory was such that they could not be tampered with. Who tells you that? I've been in the system. If I wanted to tamper with that, I would have done it. We have a recent example here in Gabon. Gabon, what happened? Did the Electoral Commission announce so and so has won? But when they opened the server, what happened? And yet the result of the election announced in Gabon, the gap was so wider than the 2002 elections. I think it was something like 17% versus 7%, but they had done it. I'm just saying this to give credit. Let's give the credit where it is due, that the Electoral Commission did a good job in that election and announced the results which reflected the wishes of the people of Kenya. And that Electoral Commission was actually composed of people, commissioners, nominated by political parties of the day, and therefore it's possible. Now, when you say that people nominated by parties will be partial and so on, yeah, it's true. But you see, if you don't give political parties, particularly the 2-3 big ones, that chance to nominate their own people, if they have to go into the system of maneuvering, manipulating the selection system to make sure that the person is there, the type of person they'll nominate will not be a person of gravitas. It will be a sycophant, and therefore he'll be influencing. He'll be there to disturb the situation and so on. So that's why it's good just to accept the situation the way it is. Say, you are the big guys, nominate. But there should be people of gravitas, and they will do so, rather than making them go under the table, manipulating, and making sure that their sycophants are nominated. This question. But anyway, thank you very much for putting order in the discussions. I can tell you that President Madira, the governor of Embu, we also have a claim on her in Busia. Yes. So we are very proud of her in Busia also. And then, Eugene Amadwa, you mentioned quite a number of things which, in a sense, I agree with. Actually, I was agreeing with my recommendations, but also suggesting a few things. This Article 884H, I think it can be used, but it will be useful if there was a clear clause to say that after every general election there'll be that. Opening. Yeah, make it clear rather than just a general. I think that's basically what. Anything else?
Well, thank you.
I can say I'm available.
Yeah, thank you. Please enrich our thinking. Including, by the way, this thing, Zambians went, and I think at some stage, Hassan and referring to again, talk about Frelimo experience in Mozambique and Renemo. But Zambians have actually decided, rather than have this electronic transmission, they will do it manually. I don't want you to answer now, but perhaps give it some thought. Give it some thought.
But then you didn't answer whether you were in that petition as one of the lawyers in the Azmio.
Which one?
The Azmio petition.
No, not.
He wasn't.
Honorable Co-Chair, just to thank the Honorable Attorney General Emeritus. He's actually flown in from, he was out of the country at a family tragedy, and he just flew in for this, and we must really, really appreciate. And we've taken up a lot of your time. In fact, speaking from your brains, we should have paid you your hefty fee notes. But because of your patriotism, and your colleague, Honorable Gidu Muigai, was here also, this committee benefited greatly. We hope the sitting AG would also have time to come and, you're adding value to our process. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, my pupil master.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. I think Okonko, we're going to ask for a write-up. If the chairman so orders now
yes,
to...
please do. We wouldn't mind on the issue of the camera house.
Yeah, and be more than
I am certain Senator Mugeni is interested more on more powers getting to the Senate. And we shall allow it.
If you can give me 14 days, or that's too much?
We have a balance of 25 days as a committee. So,
7 days.
7 days?
No, as Eugene, my namesake, I confirm that I'm also called Eugene.
For the record.
I think it sort of indicated to you that Nikona Huku.
I think you can do
14, fine.
okay, 14 is the fact that you also took time from outside the country to appear. To allow you the 14 days.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Asante sana. We have members, we have Kipra next. We still have a group of senators, Enoch Wambua and Tom Agenda and Lendamo Onekina. We have agreed to allow the Ogier community 10 minutes. And we have agreed with them strictly 10 minutes because of time. And we still have another 4 groups. You know why I'm saying that? For Eugene and Omar, who never pays attention to what is going on in the meeting. You know why I'm saying that? Did you even hear what I'm saying? You and Eugene, you know why I'm saying that?
Chairman, this is all on camera.
Oh,
But it's fair enough.
but it's fair because the housekeeping,
Yeah,
we
just ask him
we
that
need time.
Eugene keeps his comments brief.
No, for Eugene and Hassan Omar, it is not comments. Please keep your lectures brief.
Chair, what you need to guide is that they've made their comments for the entire day. Now they need
Now they need for the rest of the day.
No, Aaron Cheriot.
I will skip
To
some.
show a level of maturity. That was very high.
No, you know Eugene and Omar. I think I want to agree with Senator Aaron.
Because
You have spoken for the day.
tumetumia bundles zetu.
I will skip some.
Bundles zenyu
Bundles
zimeisha.
zimeisha.
Eugene, Kipra, are they here?
Yeah, there they are.
Thank you. We will allow you to pass. Kipra, karibuni. We'll do a quick round of introduction. From my right, Senator Mugeni Okongo, Senator Nyamira, Honorable Amina Malindi, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, Honorable Pio Andai, just stepped out, His Excellency Alonso Musyoka, Senator Omar Hassan, Governor Cecily Mbarire, Senator Aaron Cheruyot, who is our majority leader. Mine is Kimani Ichung'wah. Karibu, you can equally do a quick introduction. We'll give you 10, 15 minutes. Are you able to do yours in 10 minutes?
Thanks very much, Chair.
Is that you do not need affirmative action.
Huh? So I'm going to, thanks very much. We are really grateful to be here. I'll start by introducing my team. On my right, I have Dr. Elda Onsom, who is a director. And then on my left, I have Irene Mithia, again a director at the Institute. And my name is Rose Ngugi. I'm the executive director for KIPRA. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, Rose, I think what you didn't get what His Excellency was saying is saying you do not need affirmative action in terms of the female gender balance, but you may need affirmative action in terms of boy child. So, Karibu.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you've asked whether we can do it in our contribution in 10 minutes. We'll try to do that. First of all, is to say that we received an invitation to this committee on the 19th of September to make a presentation on any of the 5 issues that the National Dialogue Committee is focusing on. And KIPRA, we have a submission on one of the issues, and that is on issue on outstanding constitutional matters relating to the Article 43 of the Constitution, the cost of living, and related issues. The Article 43 of the Constitution on cost of living and related issues covers various aspects, this including economic and rights of everyone in Kenya. That covers one, highest attainable standard of health, adequate food and of acceptable quality, matters to do with housing, matters to do with clean water, social security and education. And this is what we are focusing on, given that at the moment what we are facing is rising cost of living and also inequality. And we also look at this as basic needs for each and every Kenyan. And since independence, sessional paper number 10 of 1963 identified 3 basic issues for Kenyans, and that is matters to do with poverty, issues to do with hunger, and also health. And these things have continued even in the Vision 2030, the Big 4 agenda, and the Better. Matters to do with the basic needs of Kenyans have continued to carry the day. And of critical importance when it comes to cost of living is the fact that when you look at these basic needs, food, shelter, health, clothing, and education, they actually compete for income for households. And when we think about the bottom of the pyramid, it means that they are competing for very meager income. And without an increase in a commensurate increase in the income levels, then it means that the households are left with a very big headache on how they can allocate the resources to meet all the needs. We appreciate that the government has continuously continued to support matters to do with access to basic needs, but there are still some issues that we still feel still facing us, otherwise would not be where we are today. So I'm going to look at 2 issues, and Dr. Elder will look at the other 3. And the first one is to do with the adequacy of food and of acceptable quality. And start by saying that, yes, the government has given priority to food production to achieve food and nutrition security. And a lot of efforts have been put on the supply side, whether we are talking about fertilizer subsidies to reduce the cost of production, investing in irrigation to ensure that we are not relying on rain-fed production, agricultural extension services so that we can have high-quality yields, matters to do with the minimum wage, because without that you can not talk about the demand side of issues. Access to credit, because credit is where we smoothen our consumption today and tomorrow. Expansion of social protection, and social protection comes in very handy because we realize that there are many of us who are below poverty line, and we need to be protected to sustain our livelihood. In addition is making markets work, and there's a lot that is happening. Right now we have a Ministry of Cooperatives, a very key move forward in terms of not only aggregation, but also supporting farmers to see that they can access markets. So what do we see as gaps in food supply? Of course, as a country, we are producing food, but there are circumstances when you find that the supply of food results in some areas having bumper harvest and other areas not having any food. In addition, you'll also find that when we have good rains, we have bumper harvests, but during drought situation, we find ourselves again struggling with food supply. It means that there's one element we are not exploiting, and this is the value addition, which we do through manufacturing. And manufacturing costs are high. One, given that for you to do food manufacturing, you're actually relying on inputs from agriculture, and agriculture output is actually susceptible to drought situations. So during drought situations, we find we don't have adequate raw materials for manufacturing. In addition, you'll notice that in manufacturing, food manufacturing, majority of the farms are actually micro and small enterprises, which of course we know face a lot of challenges, including technology, as well as sourcing for this raw material. So on the supply side then, you'll notice that we have not managed to smoothen between bumper harvests and when we have drought, and therefore we don't have adequate food. On the demand side, you'll notice that we have a registered minimum wage, and this minimum wage covers about 77% of our workers. We have seen over time that minimum wage has been actually reviewed upwards, and the last time that it was reviewed upwards is in 2022 by 12%. But the increase in the prices for essential commodities went up by 22%, which means that the purchasing power for households was actually reduced. And given that in Kenya, households spend over 50% of their budget in food, it means that with an increase in the food prices, without an increase in minimum wage, it leaves the households at a very weak position to manage their basic needs. Further is the food inflation. If you look at inflation in Kenya, a key significant contribution is food. Like last year, on average, the overall inflation was about 7.7%, with food inflation at 13.1%, almost double that. So anytime we therefore think about food, it should be the first priority, it should be our second priority, it should be the third priority if we have to manage the welfare of Kenyans. And for this reason, it's important to think about how we can diversify our crops, how we can support the production, as well as how we can actually enhance the earnings of the households so that they can smoothen their demand for food. And lastly is also the social security, social safety nets, which can come in handy for the vulnerable groups when we have food price shocks. And of course, we know that we are moving very well with the early warning system, but the key question is how we actually manage to put everything in order such that when we have drought, we don't face the same situation that we had with a prolonged drought that started in 2021.
Dr. Maybe if I could guide you, you're already 7 minutes and you've only tackled 1 out of 7 issues. Meaning if we move at that pace, we'll probably finish at 3 and we'll not be doing justice to the rest of the country and other stakeholders who have been waiting. I want to propose that don't take us through the entire paper. It's a very good paper, very well written, and just give us highlights.
Okay.
Don't go through item by item the way you are doing it.
Thank you. Thank
and I'm sorry, I know you're an academician, so you are very tempted to take us through a class.
Yeah. And I'm also a former lecturer, so...
Yes.
Also give a
I saw that danger, Mwalimu.
All right, so I've just talked about social safety net, so I can talk about social security. I'll take only 1 minute and say that, yes, a lot has been done, but the kind of gaps that we are realizing is that if we look at, say, for example, the hunger safety net programs, we give households about 2,000 per month. And these are mainly, for example, in rural areas. And the poverty line, going by the 2015-2016 household survey, is actually at about 1954, which means that we are giving them just at the poverty level. And when there is an increase in prices, this is not revealed upwards. So they are left actually, they actually drop down the poverty line. When it comes to poverty across the children, what you'll notice is that 4 out of every 4 children actually facing a significant level of poverty, which has implications in terms of their nutrition levels, and we shall discuss nutrition later. But I want to say at this point that when we don't take care of children at that very beginning, the country tends to lose about 6.9% of GDP to malnutrition. And a core element is in productivity, which is about 6.5% of GDP. So going forward then, we are saying that we need to look at the social protection such that in addition to minimum wage, we go beyond that and see to it that we are providing affordable transport, housing, universal health care, and education so that we can leave the households with adequate budget that they can allocate to other things that they need in life. And also finally is to address matters to do with social mobility. From our research, we found that poor households tend to get to poor situations because even when we have social protection, which are not well targeted, then poor households are not benefiting. And if they don't benefit, they don't take their children to school. If they don't take their children to school, the children actually end up being poor. So to break that, it's critical that we look at how we target our social protection to allow for social mobility for those at the bottom of the pyramid. Chair, I'll give 5 minutes to my colleague here, Dr. Elder, and I'll tell her to use just 5 minutes.
I think 5 minutes on the high side.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'll take us through the following areas. I start with health and nutrition. The government, as we know, is implementing a number of interventions, starting with the universal health care. We also have a lot of support when it comes to provision of food. We have a lot of support when it comes to production of vaccines. However, a number of issues remain that are outstanding. First is the high out-of-pocket spending. And this is basically because we have emergence of non-communicable diseases, because the country is transitioning from the higher incidence of communicable diseases like malaria, which is being tackled, but now we have new diseases like hypertension, we have diabetes, we have cancer, among others. All those constitute the high cost of out-of-pocket. We have a mismatch between what we are spending and the outcomes of health, particularly when it comes to the overall human capital of the country. Stockouts in medical centers, particularly the public health institutions, and this is because of weaker supply chain systems, the distribution of human resources for health, and these include the doctors, the specialists, we have the community health workers, among others, which then means going forward we need to tackle this through the following: ensuring that we expand the provision of quality health. This tackles support for households, and this can be through the universal health coverage. We need to improve the budgetary allocation and utilization, because primary health is one of the default functions, and here the counties have a key role to play, particularly from the prevention, nutrition, and also ensuring that we access public utilities like water, which are key. We also need to look at the redistribution of healthcare workers. When it comes to housing, this is a key area because in the Article 43, each Kenyan has a right to quality housing, and this is housing that has amenities, but the key gaps can be tackled through exploring effective land use planning and management policies, which ensure that all the population in the rural and urban areas, particularly in the informal settlements, have access to housing that has amenities and housing that helps them attain the basic minimum as per the Constitution. We also need to balance between the development of our infrastructure such that every Kenyan can access that pertains to quality and also the standard of accommodation. When it comes to clean water and safe water, we know the amendment of the Water Bill 2023, which supports partnerships, but we have outstanding issues which relate to access to clean and safe water in the informal settlements, arid and semi-arid lands, and even in the high potential areas where we still have poor water harvesting systems that we can leverage on as a country, and that then compromises the quality of water that the Kenyans are accessing. Going forward, then, we recommend the need to enhance investments and capacity development in rural and the informal settlements. We need to look at the water management, particularly wastewater treatment, which requires use of technology and also high capital investment. When it comes to water harvesting, it will be important to put legislative frameworks in place, particularly in the public places where we have high levels of space in terms of roofing that accommodates water when it rains, and that can be harvested for use not only in the urban areas where we have most housing, but also even in the rural areas through the piping. Finally, on education, in addition to the reforms that are taking place, we find gaps in terms of inequalities to access education, particularly in the post-primary education, which we know is key where skills are being developed. Interventions then could relate to addressing inequalities in access to quality education, and here technology has a key role, and hence need to look at how to have universal access to internet, particularly not only in schools, but in homes and in public places, looking at the safety of children online, and also improving school infrastructure by increasing also community awareness on their role in provision of education, both at the basic level and tertiary level, which we know is very key for skills development and also human capital development.
Well, we thank you. Does your colleague want to add anything in a minute? We don't want to feel deprived.
Yes.
But please notice, yeah. We thank you for accepting to even give us a written memorandum.
Thank you, Chair. We are satisfied with the submissions, and we look forward to further engagement. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We thank you so much. I don't know whether any of the colleagues here would want to interact with that submission.
Yeah, I just one very short question.
We shall hear Honorable Hassan Omar in absolute silence.
Yes, this is a very well done paper, and I always have a lot of respect for the work done by Kipra, and I can see once upon a time your former board chair, Linda Musumba, is here with us. My question is that as you make all these analysis about government interventions, particularly in terms of mitigating the cost of living, can you either forecast the impact it has had or forecast the impact it will have? Like you see, we said we did a G2G, government to government on the fuel. That was supposed to ease the pressure on the dollar, so that then we don't have scarcity of dollars like what is happening in Tanzania. And in addition to that, to try and keep the rate of the shilling against the dollar, at least to mitigate it. We have had interventions with respect to subsidies on fertilizer. We've had an intervention in terms of bringing oil and other food products at zero-rated import duty. So I want, are you able, maybe even if you don't have the answers now, to analyze, because this government is implementing a plan and you are a government agency, to analyze whether there is some impact with some of these interventions in the short and probably in the long term of some of these interventions with respect to mitigating the cost of living. Yes.
I just want to really thank the three ladies. I think it's the first time we are having this kind of forum where the entire team is one of ladies. And it gives me some comfort. For the first time, we are not talking about the men. and just to let you, actually, I am very keen to know whether, just taking up from what Hassan has said, are you analyzing the impact of the government programs that are there in the plan in relation to the issues that you've raised? For example, I'd be very happy to hear from you what has been the impact of the subsidized fertilizer to farmers in relation to the last season, and has that improved the quantity and quality of food? Are we there? Are we there yet? And in your view, listening to Kenyans and politicians, we want quick fixes. We want to wake up one morning and the government has subsidized fuel by half or by a quarter or whatever percentage. We want to wake up one day and we have subsidized maize meal, so that it's now below 150. And we saw that attempt in the last regime. Between what happened in the last regime, from a very independent position, and what is being attempted currently by the current regime, which is the better way of sorting these issues? Is it those quick fixes, or is it long-term, well-calculated plans?
Chair, because I served in the last regime, I think our friends from Kenya Kwanza are saying their plan is working very well. We just want to know, because this plan is called Bottom-Up Economic Transformation Agenda, Better. This plan was supposed to make lives better for Kenyans. In 100 days, now it's a year. If this plan has worked, as my colleagues are saying, and we have a bumper harvest, why is it that we're importing yellow maize now? Can you explain to us? Many of us are farmers. We don't understand. It's very worrying. The last time we ate yellow maize, I was a little boy in the Nyayo era. Are things okay? Is the plan working?
May I clarify something about the yellow maize? And this is so important, especially for the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. The yellow maize is coming here to strictly help us with livestock, animal feed, poultry, livestock. Because what the government has realized upon analysis is that the cost of animal feeds is too high to keep farmers in profit. And that's why we are bringing in cheap yellow maize, not for human consumption, I repeat here, not for human consumption, but for animals. That's the purpose of the yellow maize. So Eugene Wamalwa, be sure of that. And that's why we're giving fertilizer for proper maize for human consumption.
Okay. I think, Chair, we live in this country. This is a country where we've had sugar being imported and mixed, brown and white. Once you open the door for yellow maize, what controls do we have? That's the worry of most farmers. We have a bumper, we are harvesting. I just came from home now. Why you bring us yellow maize now when we have a bumper harvest?
You know, if we, although His Excellency keeps encouraging dialogue, when we speak across the table to speak to each other, I think the fair thing is to allow Kipra to have that very balanced analysis to tell us. Because, for instance, speaking from where Cess is sitting, I may have the view that the subsidies, consumer subsidies that Honorable Eugene's government did in the last regime did not work. If anything, they left all those bills to this regime to pay. And therefore, Kipra would be in a better position to be able to analyze and tell us.
All of you guys who are together, you're talking strange things to some of us.
I can confirm that Kimani Shunga was not there. We were all together.
We were all together initially before Eugene edged us out. So maybe Kipra should be able to analyze and tell us what is a more sustainable policy to pursue. Is it the consumer subsidies? Is it the producer subsidies? Is it what from your paper, I have seen you've even spoken about wage increments and enforcing that, because the cost of living inevitably will keep rising, and some by factors beyond our control as a country, for instance, the fuel issue. But the challenge then are Kenyans having the levels of income to be able to afford that cost of living. So maybe you would strike a balance for us, and we don't expect you to necessarily have all the answers now. We would not mind a well-done paper like this one, probably to answer those questions if you're not in a position to answer now, unless you have a quick one as we close.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks very much, committee members. I think these are very exciting questions, and I want to say one is that yes, we can do impact, and we have done actually a very good analysis on the implications if all the proposals that have been given by the government were to be implemented. But I want to say that recently we have launched our report, the Kenya Economic Report, that was looking at the cost of living. And one of the key things that you'll notice from it, and that's why we are focusing a lot on the food, is that food actually taking over 50% of the income. It makes it the first, second, and third priority that we should get into. Transport costs, especially for those who are using matatus and the like, it also takes almost 10% for transport, and it is among, I think, the second in terms of contribution to the cost of living for Kenyans. So when we are able to reduce actually the cost for fuel, it means that you can reduce the cost for transport. It means that you can reduce the cost for distribution of foods, and therefore you can have an implication on the prices for food. Now, it's one thing to have food supply in the market, but it's another to say that I can access it. I may not access it because it's not affordable, but can I also be empowered to actually access it? And I can only access it if my income is also taken care of, which means that increase productivity for micro and small enterprises, for the farmers, they can reap higher and they can increase their incomes. Yeah? But at the same time, you say that you may not actually get that immediately. You may also find that there are those who are still struggling, and that's why matters to do with the social protection come in. And the social protection means that we need also to review not just the 2,000 that we are giving to the households, but we need also to ask ourselves, are we giving them something real, in real terms? What are we giving to them? So both the supply side and the demand side factors need to be taken into account so that we can see markets operating. And it does not mean that the government does not have a role. It has a very major role to ensure that it's able to put in appropriate regulations to ensure that one is able to access, and that the pricing process is also not, what would I say, it's not penalizing, especially those at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adi. We will encourage you to give us a more detailed analysis of such interventions for us to be able to interact with as we continue, because we may not have the time now to engage on everything. Analyze all those things from fuel to the changes with the social health insurance from NHIF, because they all have a bearing on the cost of living, including proposals on what you are saying on income disparities among us Kenyans. Asante sana.
How soon can we have that?
Yeah, how soon can you be able to do that?
You want us to do another submission?
Yeah.
Additional submission?
Yes.
The previous one was asking 14 days. I don't know whether 10 days will be good.
Yes.
10 days is fair enough.
10 days. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ari.
Thank you.
And your team. We have next the Ilchamus community. Please, Sergeant at Arms, usher them in quickly. And we agreed we are only giving them 10 minutes because they are not even in our program. Yeah? Yeah?
Then we can come and wait. We start.
Senators Karibu, then usher in the Ilchamus community to sit right behind Senator Wambua and Senator Ojienda. And not everybody. Sergeant at Arms, they must select a small group. We don't want the drama of people coming to sing here.
But now
Are you alone, Senator? Or Senator Agenda? There was an indication that you are. You are
look mystified.
Agenda.
Why don't you allow us to listen to Jamus then, as you wait for your colleagues? Find out where they are.
But maybe they are not presenting together.
Chair,
They are all separate.
We were informed, Senator.
I need to be guided.
Yeah?
I need to be guided. I'm here on account of a memorandum that I sent to this team.
And in our meeting last week, we proposed, and I think it's Senator Mugeni who told us that there is a bicameral issue on the bicameral parliament that you are coming to present together with Ladama and Senator Tom Ojienda, because for the other individual member of parliament's memoranda, we had resolved to interact with the memoranda and avoid the face-to-face engagements, since we have not also accorded the same to other Kenyans. And we said in the spirit of fairness to other Kenyans, we interact with your memoranda just like we interact with all other Kenyans' memoranda, unless it is a group, and that's why we were convinced by Senator Mugeni there was a bicameral issue that you had to present together with Senator Ojienda and Senator Olekina. Just like we have a group of 27 members of parliament addressing the issue of proposed counties, and I know your memoranda also touched on a proposed county of Mwingi. I'll probably propose, if it is that's the issue you are here on, probably it's fairer to join the other group so that we listen to you on the issue of bicameralism.
Chair, let me just intervene. Just first of all, for us to confirm whether the two other senators are there or not. But even if they are not there, since he has come at the time that we allotted for them, would they indulge him? Yes, for just a few minutes. Then we excuse him. Yeah.
No, you know the way Mheshimiwa Omar is putting this matter. We start on the wrong footing.
No, it's okay. Omar is not on record. Maybe you respond to what I have said and Honorable Pio.
Okay, let me go on record.
Yeah.
Co-chair, first of all, I'm happy that you've invited me to make a presentation to this team. Those conversations that you had with the team about then what it is that I'd come and present on were not communicated to me.
Okay.
So if you had an internal communication amongst yourselves and you did not inform me, it would be very unfair, Co-chair, to expect that I have come from Kitui to make a point on Mwingi County. Wait, I listen to you, wait. To make a point on Mwingi County, yes. Then you tell me that I have to wait for my colleagues.
I just want confirmation from the Secretariat that that was not communicated, because that are the instructions we gave. Amijan, is he here?
In an event, Chair, since we had agreed we hear him, let's just hear him. Avoid those other things, and let's.
We hear you?
Yeah.
10 minutes. We have a whole list, Senator.
Hey, that's okay. I'll make it 5 minutes.
Please, we would be happy if it was even 5.
That's okay. So I thank the team for inviting me, and as I said, my presentation is on a proposal that I sent to this team on a constitutional matter in relation to the creation of Mwingi County. Co-chairs, for the information of this team, this is not a conversation that started yesterday. It's a matter that I've been engaged in since 2019. Those of your colleagues who sat with me in the Senate between 2017 and 2022 will remember that I brought this proposal to the Senate, and that time actually Omogeni was the chair of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. When we were accorded an opportunity to present a memoranda to the then BBI, I made the same presentation. And so I will take you through what it is that I'm thinking, and I will leave the final decision to the team. Co-chairs, I am guided by Article 6 of the Constitution of Kenya, Article 6.1, that provides that the territory of Kenya is divided into the counties specified in the first schedule. By that statement alone, it should be noted that the drafters of the Constitution were alive to the fact that there is no magic number in number 47, that the first schedule can be amended to create more counties or even to reduce the number of counties. So on the basis of that chapter 6.1 of the Constitution, I do make a presentation on a proposal to create a second county in Kitui called Mwingi. My idea, co-chairs, is what I would call authentic. It's an original, authentic idea. I do understand, as you have mentioned, co-chair, there is also a caucus of members of the National Assembly who are also pushing the agenda of creating additional counties in this country. Respectively, Mr. Chairman, a lot of that, again, is a Me Too attitude, that now that some people are asking for counties, will also ask for additional counties. My idea is authentic in the sense that, Mr. Chairs, the genesis of the creation of counties in this country under the 2010 Constitution was informed by a decision in Naivasha that the districts that had been created and gazetted around 1992-93 would be given a county status. At that time, co-chairs, there were 48 districts that were created up to and including 92-93. What the mistake was, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairs, is that the districts that were created around the same time that Mwingi district was created from Kitui district, including Tharaka-Nithi from Meru, and Makueni from Machakos, were given county status because they had been gazetted as districts. Unfortunately, at creation, Mwingi district was not immediately gazetted, and for that reason, we lost out on a county status. The chairs, it is the same challenge that I found when I was elected the senator of Kitui County, that Kitui County had lost out on benefiting from the equalization fund because, again, of technical issues. It took my personal intervention in the offices of the CRA to argue that it would look bad in the eyes of an ordinary Kenyan to hear that some sections in Kiambu and Nyeri and Murang'a are benefiting from the equalization fund and not a single area in Kitui had been listed to benefit from the equalization fund. And that is how then the formula of moving from classifying marginalized areas in regard to counties was changed, and now they started looking at areas, villages, locations, where then you would have pockets of marginalization for counties to begin to benefit from the equalization fund. Co-chairs, my proposal is an attempt to cure an injustice vested and visited on the people of Mwingi, and by extension the entire Lower Eastern region, on account of a failure by the Office of the Attorney General to gazette a district. And I am urging this committee, the National Dialogue Committee, not to grant the invitation from any quarter to be bystanders as the people of Mwingi continue to suffer this injustice. Co-chairs and members, the object of this proposal, which I have presented to you, is to amend the Constitution of Kenya and to ensure that resources and services are brought closer to the people by splitting the expansive Kitui County into 2 counties. For the information of these members and for the record, the distance between the southern farthest end of Kitui, which is Athi Town, to the farthest northern end of Kitui, which is Usweni, is 350 kilometers. The distance from Bomet to Nairobi, traversing Narok County, Nakuru County, Kiambu County, and Nairobi, is 228 kilometers. So as you travel from Bomet to Nairobi, you have only covered half of Kitui County. And the beauty of our county is that it is settled all over. You wouldn't say that there are regions in Kitui County that have no settlements. So the distance to service, to take service to the people in the farthest end of the county is a challenge to the administrators, and that is why we are asking this committee, if and when, because I believe that there will be an opportunity to open the Constitution, if then that opportunity is availed, then you should consider correcting the injustice, the technicality on Mwingi. And I'm saying that we have 3 constituencies in Mwingi, which is Mwingi Central, Mwingi West, and Mwingi North, and a total number of 15 wards, which would constitute a county either from Kitui, with a population of about 450,000 people, according to the 2019 annual census report. The Speaker, the Chair, as I move towards closure, there have been arguments against this push, and you heard them on the floor. There are people who will argue that it is too expensive to create an additional county. There are others who argue that why Kitui and not X or Y county. My response to that, co-chairs, is that anybody arguing about the expenses of creating a new county is just being unrealistic. And if you think then democracy is expensive, we could try anarchy. There is nothing in expenses that should stop a people, a population, from enjoying the benefits of devolution. Because we have comparative jurisdiction, co-chairs. We have counties in this country that are much, much, much smaller than the proposed Mwingi County, much smaller. I could mention just 2 or 3 of them. Kirinyaga County, with a landmass of 1,479 square kilometers, is a county. In fact, I make this joke co-chairs about Kirinyaga County, that the county is so small, and I'm not saying that they should be denied their status, no. They're so small that even the Catholic Church has not established a diocese in Kirinyaga. It is administered from Murang'a, and yet they have a county status. You go to Lamu with 2 constituencies. Go to Isiolo with 2 constituencies. You go to Samburu with 3 constituencies. Tharaka-Nithi, which is even smaller than Kirinyaga, with 3 constituencies. Co-chairs, it is my submission. I see the co-chair wants to interrupt me. You can.
Thank you. Not to interrupt, I was just prompting you to wind up, as I also noted that you are avoiding mentioning Nyamira, which is in your document, because the Senator Okongo is here.
I have not mentioned Nyamira, I have not mentioned Mombasa, I have not mentioned Vihiga. I said I mentioned just a few of them. Nyamira happens to be one of those ones that I did not mention.
Senator Wabua, you are cleverly avoiding Nyamira.
No.
Because of Senator Okongo Mugeni here.
No. He knows you don't roll that way. He knows very well. So,
right, if you can wind up, please.
Let me wind up. My proposal, co-chairs, comes complete with a proposed draft amendment bill. It's attached to my proposal. And for the ease of reference, the only thing that we're looking at doing is actually amending only 3 sections of the Constitution. Article 97 of the Constitution, that makes reference to 47 women representatives. We change that to read 48. Article 98, which makes reference to 47 senators, we move to 48. And the same article 98B, the clause dealing with 16 nominated as women senators, because this proposal actually even cures on the gender representation. So we move from 16 nominated senators to 18 women, and then of course amending the first schedule.
Thank you, Senator, since the proposal is attached. Okay. Members, just appear. Aaron,
and thank you very much, Senator, for this very, very precise and concise presentation, and done so eloquently. Just one issue, for record purposes, if in your view, such an amendment would require a referendum or not, just that only, and then just a light note on the issue of the Catholic dioceses. You know, even Siaya County is administered under one diocese together with Kisumu, despite them being too big.
It must be very small.
You know,
This is how you...
Wabua is a Catholic, so let us...
Certainly it's not a Catholic.
He's not Catholic. I see.
Yes.
So I'm not sure whether the other diocese in Siaya or in Kirinyaga.
Thank you. I sure do know they have a couple of churches. I'm not sure of the yeah, I know. Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Senator Wambua, for finding time to come. Now, I know how passionate you are about this particular cause. And my question to you is not to the people of Kitui specifically, and you who's a representative, but it's a wholesome team that appears before us. You're here, right behind you are people from Ilchamus in Baringo County and spread out in other counties in Kenya. We have previously listened to about 2 or 3 others, and tomorrow we listen to 27 colleagues of ours who are on a similar quest. So therefore, I don't want you to take this question as either opposition or support to you, the quest that you have. But it's just to help appreciate and see if you do appreciate the economic situation that the country finds itself in, and how do you plead given that there is statistics out there, Senator. First of all, number one, to argue for or against this long debate that we've had from 1963 on population versus land size. Because if the people of Kirinyaga were here as well, just to use as an example, they'd say that for half the population of what they have, close to almost 650,000 people, against your population by 2019 statistics of 1.1, they get only 50% of the allocation that you get to administer and do the same. I could even make it better and say, my own people, the people of Kericho, same number in size, 1 million population, our county shareable allocation is somewhere upwards of 6 billion. Yours is 10 point something billion. And therefore I could push a case and say, on account of population alone, it deserves to be similar. Therefore, it's a very complex debate, which when we have the challenge, and the reason why I'll ask you this, and perhaps not any other of the groups that have presented, is because you're a leader, we sit together in Senate, and you understand the intrigues and the difficulties that the country continues to face. Wouldn't you propose rather a way and means of ensuring that services get closer to your people, more than just creation of an administrative unit? And you know this, Senator Wambua, that in all our 47 counties presently, and this is something that we need to consider in Senate in the next coming days, all our counties are in violation of Section 25 of the PFM Act. There is none that is devoting more than 30% of their shareable revenue to development. So therefore, what you end up doing is that when you create additional counties, you're giving jobs to perhaps a maximum of 1,000, 2,000 people, but what eventually gets as actual development to the people that you're seeking is only 20% of that. Haven't you thought of maybe of another way other than just creation of a county, of trying to ensure that your people get justice? I thank you, Chair.
Yes, Senator, we'll allow you to quickly respond to those two.
Yes, I will. Let me begin with
I need to say this before you do that. You're quite right. The Attorney General Emeritus was sitting there before you, actually confirmed that he was the violator. He's the one who gave the list in order to break the stalemate, because some were asking for 100, others 18, and others. So he really used like a rule of the thumb and said those which were which had been gazetted as districts. And although Mwingi was announced, I remember that, about the same time Tharaka Nithi was given the district status, and Makueni, and Mwingi was just not gazetted. It's really, you're quite right in saying the Office of the Attorney General let down the people of Mwingi, because that was the criterion that was being used. So I want just to agree with you on that score.
I think your party leader, it feels good when your party leader agrees with you. Now I can deal with the rest. On the matter of the referendum, yes. I think because this will touch on the structure of devolution, then it's a question that should go to the people and let the people of Kenya decide whether it is something they want to do. I'm very clear about that. On the matter of what Senator Cheruiyot is asking, who is also my leader in the Senate, two things. One, he brings in the argument that I started with, the Me Too argument, that if you create Mwingi County, then other people will say, Me Too, and will give their reasons. But I am convinced, and my party leader has borne me out, that the reason why we don't have Mwingi County today is not because another person was given a county. It is because somebody slept on their job. The Attorney General did not gazette Mwingi County alongside Tharaka-Nithi and Makueni. And on that account, now the people of Mwingi will continue to suffer injustice because of the mistake of one person. That's the way I look at it. Secondly, Senator Cheriot, this country is defined, Kenya is defined as its citizens and its land. And that's why a lot of presidents will say, we will not cede an inch to anyone, because land is important. So land mass is as important to this country as the population is. So the argument that there are people that have huge populations and small pieces of land, in my case, does not arise, because then what you lose in land mass, you gain in population. And what you lose in population, then you gain in land mass. And as I conclude, I say this. Devolution, Honorable Team, devolution has actually been hijacked at county headquarters. The drafters of this constitution, and that's why they are leaving that Article 6 open. They did not envisage a situation where, when you create a county headquarters, now that is the end of devolution, things now should work properly from there. No. That should have been the beginning of it. That we should evolve further to wards, to constituencies. And by extension, then this one county, this just one county in this country, Mwingi, that was denied a right by the mistake of one person. I will leave it to you to decide whether you want just to say they lost and they lost, then let them live with it, or you may want to correct that injustice on account of the fact that we all agree, and the AJ Emeritus was here, as you told me, he has confirmed that it is him that did not gazette Mwingi. I rest my case.
Thank you, Senator. And it is indeed true. He was seated right where you are seated, and he made that concession. We hear you and sympathize with not you only, but the people of Mwingi and many other Kenyans who feel that there is some element of injustice. But that is why we are here. We will consider yours and those of other Kenyans. Asante. Na kwaheri, if you are traveling back to Kitui County.
Beautiful day. Everybody's looking at you.
You're doing badly. I thought you'll invite me for lunch.
and unfortunately, Senator, and it's good because the fourth estate are here, and I saw the nation accuse this committee of gobbling up 100 million shillings. And I heard, I think over the weekend, someone saying that we are sipping expensive tea and champagne. We unfortunately have no facilities. We are here to get a shilling. Even the waters and the conference facilities, we are here courtesy of a well-wisher, one of our civil society organizations that have been meeting the conferencing facility costs, including our teas and light meals when we have a long day like today. But unfortunately, because of you and the Ilchamus and Public Service Commission who are here, we are not even able to break for lunch.
That's okay. Chair, actually, let me help you there, because then it's a problem. And let's confirm to media, because I sat in this committee, the first team. And to be honest to this country, there is no government money that is being spent on these things. It's a volunteer service. It's people doing this for the nation. So thinking that government is giving these people allowances or monies, I think we should disabuse ourselves of that notion and just allow Kenyans to do their job. They're just doing their job.
Thank you, Senator. We will request, just hold on, we request Public Service Commission. I'm told you have a meeting at 3:30. So we request the Chamus community to hold on.
No, just sit.
Letagule, just take your seats first. We allow the Public Service Commission. They will be very brief. We wanted to slot in at you at their time, but they have insisted, so we allow them a quick presentation. Thank you. I believe you know everybody here. We will not bother you with introductions. Maybe you just introduce yourselves for the record and move straight on to your presentation. I'm told it's a very brief one. It will take 5 or 10 minutes?
10, not more than 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, co-chairs, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah and Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, and the honorable members of this committee. Greetings from the Public Service Commission. My name is Anthony Mushiri. I'm the chairperson of the Public Service Commission, and today I'm accompanied by my Director of Legal. Her name is Jacqueline Manani. It is a privilege for us to be here on your invitation, honorable co-chairs and members, to this most important National Dialogue Committee. By way of introduction, the Public Service Commission did receive a letter from the National Dialogue Committee on 19 September 2023 for oral presentations on the 5 agenda items forming the terms of reference of the committee. Honorable co-chairs, we've already given our written submissions to the Secretariat, and these documents should be getting to this committee shortly. The Commission does welcome and appreciate the invitation, it being a major stakeholder in the labor market of this country, as it is responsible both directly and indirectly in the management of over 300,000 public officers through various instruments developed and or approved by the Commission. Honorable co-chairs, the Commission is established under Article 233 of the Constitution, and its mandate is outlined in Article 234, of which I will not belabor. It is clearly spelled out in the Constitution. So from the foregoing, the Commission's role in public service institutional development and management is central, not only to the government of the day, but to the nation as a whole. In view of its mandate, the Commission bears the responsibility for improving the capability of the public service to provide strategic and innovative policy advice that spurs growth to meet citizens' expectations. That is why it is normally referred to in our mission charter as a citizen-centric public service. So, honorable co-chairs, the Commission did consider the request of the National Dialogue Committee and hereby presents its views and proposals. On electoral justice and related matters, that's the restructuring and reconstitution of the IEBC. Honorable co-chairs, IEBC has been a matter of concern to many Kenyans and public servants equally, and indeed to the Public Service Commission. Partly because of the anxiety raised by its decisions in all electoral processes. The institution should therefore be restructured in a manner that makes it more effective, efficient, and credible on matters elections. Restructuring and reconstitution of IBC should be done in the spirit and letter of the Constitution. IBC is an independent constitutional commission, as defined in Article 248(2) of the Constitution, with the object of protecting the sovereignty of the people, securing the observance by all state organs of democratic values and principles, and promoting constitutionalism as provided in Article 245 of the Constitution. The Public Service Commission is also bound by this. These objectives should be at the core of restructuring IEBC to ensure that the persons who will eventually be appointed as members will be able to deliver on their mandate. Co-chairs, for purposes of objectivity and independent identification of members of IEBC, the framework and process of restructuring and reconstitution of IEBC as an independent commission should be defined in a manner that would not be subject to interference or influence by various quarters of society, including political parties. The recruitment of members of IEBC should be shielded from political party interests that ultimately cast aspersions on the results of elections. Co-chairs, in other words, the members of IEBC should be like Caesar's wife, they're beyond reproach. The process of appointment of persons as chairpersons and members should be competitive, objective and fair, and should safeguard the interest of the major stakeholders, particularly the people of Kenya, rather than a select few segment of the society. Number two, outstanding constitution matters. The cost of living. The rising cost of living has continuously impacted negatively on public officers, which has resulted in a low morale, poor performance and poor social welfare of officers, some of whom are undergoing depression, for amongst other reasons, the inability to meet their financial obligations as and when they fall due. Data held by the State Department for Public Service shows that 12,532 public officers sought psychosocial support in the financial year 2022-23 as compared to 6,616 in the financial year 2018-19, representing an increase of 84%. Inability of public officers to maintain the 1/3 of net salary requirements, thereby causing pecuniary embarrassment to the officers. Co-chairs the Commissioner's access to the public service payroll management system, which shows that out of 79,253 public officers in the civil service, 17,132, representing 21.62%, earn less than 1/3 of their basic salary. Additionally, out of 31,892 officers in the prison service, 13,661, which is a 42.8.3%, earn less than 1/3 of their basic salary. In the discipline services, out of 106,667 officers, 51,784, representing 48.5%,